Fast forward in our channel social so I'm say Haxi a FunnTV GH. Political story set trending because making headlines and a jumbre. Now ADB Exum and ADB Young Brazilians and the AD Kenya. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. It's on notification bell, share now for friends to answer into me and career. ADB Young Brazilian. Young Faura a political high risk so and Yaksan to Akroma. Now a Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin. It me issue cemetery for Nenya some Akroma or the Nanu Disem to Idra Efa a Parliament House of Ghana and the Supreme Court Borough Hanon. Now what you say in some kind and in some train for be able sano Efa a year on a year Chief Justice Godfred Odami and issues and all track say the only say oh you small boy because we in school obeying service under his watch our Parliament House of Ghana. Na Ushian on the Ushian 101 and on also bit me to be Eddie Amana and Yakson Kotra. Na Yamongra Yensimu na Yempe in Sema Ecoso Ewo a Prince Conference. No, I say. Channel's mom said Haxi a FunnTV GH. Political stories at Renem because make headlines and a Jimre ADB Exum Ewasi. And need me on Brazil. Yamongra Yensimu. When you subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell is so a mommy. Now I feel what me I share a mouth for front so answer to me. I can't answer my to me up to a pitching edit up to a year. A man sign a year in 10 time video so. But I say why you say edit a mommy. No more if you say believe you comment under the comment section so the way ya must meet me who ye pan. Next time be on me back. So meet me I can kinda. Simbuse Humbian so metime ye mano. Channel Swam say I see a FunnTV GH Yemon Rain Simu at this point in time.
As possible. Beloved Ghanaians, democracy will work only if we fight for it, says President Barack Obama of the United States. I swore an oath to uphold, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, and that I will do right to all manner of persons in accordance with the Constitution and the laws and conventions of Parliament, without fear or favor, affection, or ill will. I concluded the swearing of the oath with a call on God to help me. I'm very confident and have faith in God to see me through these dark days of Ghana and our young democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to start this presser by disabusing and setting the minds of Ghanaians at ease. There is no constitutional crisis in this country. I repeat, there is no constitutional crisis in this country. The Parliament of Ghana is alive and working. Let nobody mislead, misinform, or disinform you and the country. The democratic system we adopted and enacted, as captured in the Constitution 1992 and fleshed out in various laws, processes, procedures, and practices, is what has been triggered, and it is working. Let us allow it to work. Democracy is about the rule of law. Let the law work. The democratic system we adopted and enacted recognizes that in the course of operationalizing the system, disagreements will occur and challenges and problems will arise. The system has put in place mechanisms, structures, and
Okay, abusia yes I share the ya reconnective feed no the amount from Parliament. Speaker Bagbin NNA or my Ghana edin komo say network from the source and no and I start here bananche very store na speaker share ne kasa se winning say obi catch us say or minor constitutional crisis sign the partners who and no credit.
Parliament is alive and working. It has not been dissolved, prorogued, prohibited, suspended, or terminated. The plenary sitting and meetings of Parliament were adjourned indefinitely due to lack of quorum to take decisions created by a walkout staged by the MPP members who were available as a result of a disagreement. The cause of the disagreement, which led to a disorder, had to be resolved with time and engagement of many more leaders than those in Parliament. The adjournment was done by the lawful authority, the Speaker of Parliament. Let us stop pressing the panic buttons and fear-mongering and allow the system to work. Anger and indecent language rather inflames the situation. There can be no democracy without patience, tolerance, discipline, collaboration, the love for one another, and consensus building. Ladies and gentlemen, one may ask, what led to this disagreement? Following a statement by Honorable Dr. Kesi on a matter he considered to be of urgent public importance on the 15th of October 2024, and comments thereof by other members, as permitted by the standing orders of Parliament, I communicated the findings of my inquiry into the matter as the Speaker of House on the 17th of October 2024, the contents of which has been construed to be a ruling. The Honorable Alexander Afenyo-Markin disagreed vehemently with the contents of my communication as the Speaker of Parliament and proceeded to advance an earlier action he had commenced in the Supreme Court on the 15th of October 2024 to prevent the Speaker of Parliament from receiving and making any pronouncement on the subject matter of the statement. Speaker of Parliament making any pronouncement on the subject matter of the statement Kesi until the final determination by the Supreme Court. The rest we see. Ladies and gentlemen, in my official capacity, I am mindful But it must be said, there still be faces, not just legal questions, but more has profound implications for our democratic stance. At its core is the very democracy. While many legal arguments have been advanced of the court, I recognize the political and governance implications have not been addressed sufficiently to enrich the national discourse. It is my considered view this should also be vigorously articulated to give. As one of the protagonists in this matter and a long-time practitioner, it will be a disservice not to respectfully draw your attention to some of the facts, principles, and ethics of politics and governance, the practice and procedures of Parliament, and what is generally referred to as parliamentary law.
Mamma also why you mentioned our association as one say house a FunnTV GH political stories are trending because making headlines and a jumre na UDB exmo. Now Speaker of Parliament a Alban Bagbin itimi Asia a Central for and Yasan Poto Akroma. Now some training be Ebusano only a Chief Justice and some no orchard. We say Chief Justice there when it comes to book dear or very low because Tama na all ye the service crampono or no. And Obertono a Parliament House of Ghana or so and sa then FunnTV Munibia. Now the only say or a small boy or trace or a small boy. Usa your castle will be a small boy. Now it tells you say one castle will be all patchway. And the speaker and so it to be man on about tracing in Siwa Shiano Soa or Canadian so at the actual. The way in some of our echo so our channel no so make sure say also obey me subscribe to the channel, hit on notification bell, share now for front so answer into me any day and can be at this point in time beat me above bra yen semu na yahwini echo any day ever but that's so I sir I'm going to under the comment section based on press conference a Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin and so it me a year but that's it so what you will see inside among rain semu.
To throw light on some aspects of the matter and to clarify the considerations that underpinned my actions. The current brouhaha may be likened to a power play between the arms of government and it has the potential to undermine our democracy, authority of Parliament. Its outcomes, constitutional order, and the democratic system have toiled, sacrificed their lives, and shed blood for decades. And executive, and I see them as interference in the workings of Parliament, pose a direct challenge to the essence, jurisdiction, authority, powers and functioning of the esteemed institution of Parliament, which is the repository of the sovereign will of the people of Ghana. It is increasingly becoming clear the judiciary and the executive are seemingly colluding to weaken Parliament. The decision of the Ghanaian voters in the 2020 presidential and parliamentary elections is clear and loud to all discerning people. The decision is obviously a preference for a consensual and collaborative governance to a winner-take-all government. The majoritarian system of Parliament, where the minority have a say, but the majority have its way, was rejected by the voters. But the They
was
opted for
rejected.
inclusivity, collaboration, consensus building, leaving nobody behind. The equal representation of the two major parties in Ghana, resulting in the composition of a hung parliament, to the voters is the better way forward for our dear nation. The expectation of the voters is this will lead to the constitution of a parliament where the national interest will prevail as against partisan or parochial interests. This is the context and the peculiar situation I have to preside over as a speaker. I'm the first speaker in the Fourth Republic, in fact, in the history of Ghana, to work with a president who belongs to a different party, to work without a majority party in parliament, but with an evenly divided parliament, 137 apiece. That is a hung parliament. Decision making has therefore not been smooth sailing. As the Speaker of Parliament, I hold the balance in favor of the national interest, but sometimes bend backwards to accede to government requests because government has been given the mandate to govern. It is with this understanding I led the board of the Parliamentary Service and members of Parliament to provide procedural rules of engagement.
Election of an independent president to form a government. Somebody who contests, as we have now, as an independent presidential candidate can be elected by the voters as the president of Ghana. How is he going to work with Parliament to get his or her business, that is government business, approved by Parliament? We have a possibility of a minority government where the voters vote for the president, but he has less members of Parliament, and that is a minority government. How is he going to get the majority members of Parliament to always approve his business for him to govern the nation? We can also have a coalition or a merger of parties government. And the familiar one we know is the majority government. These are possible governments constitutionally guaranteed in Ghana. In the current hung parliament, the new standing orders of Parliament had to cater for such a government by a number of provisions in the standing orders. We also provided provisions for all the other options of government that I just explained. For instance, a day which we called a decision day has been designated in the new standing orders, where the Speaker, in consultation with the leadership of the House, will set aside to allow members of Parliament who are ministers and deputy ministers the opportunity to be present in Parliament to be counted in support of government position to ensure government business does not suffer for lack of government members of Parliament in Parliament. Despite the above, often the number of government members present still don't add up due to the nature of the duties and responsibilities of ministers and deputy ministers. The NDC members of parliament, however, understood the situation and on a daily basis cooperated with the MPP members of parliament to see government business through. In spite of this, the NDC members are said to be saboteurs of government business by the MPP members of parliament and the followers of the new patriotic party. Those of you who cover proceedings on a daily basis are witnesses as to how sometimes I have looked at the members of the NDC in a very stern manner, which made them give in to their objections, just to get government business going. Ladies and gentlemen, the powers of the judiciary ends where the nose of parliament starts. The Constitution is very clear on freedom of speech and of proceedings of parliament. Articles 115 and 116 grant members of parliament privileges and immunities of speech, debates, and proceedings on any matter or thing brought by a member in or before parliament by petition, bill, motion, or otherwise. And I want to quote the two articles to you. Article 115. There shall be freedom of speech, debate, and proceedings in parliament, and that freedom shall not be impeached or questioned in any court or place out of parliament. Article 116. Subject to the provisions of this article, but without prejudice to the general effect of Article 115 of this Constitution, civil or criminal proceedings shall not be initiated against a member of parliament in any court or place out of parliament for any matter or thing brought by him in or before parliament by petition, bill, motion, or otherwise. This means happenings in parliament must remain in parliament. So the court must, and has always been, hesitant to interfere in the proceedings and decisions of parliament. In the celebrated case of Tufor versus the Attorney General, the Supreme Court affirmed that happenings in parliament are a closed book. Despite these provisions, the courts are replete with debates and proceedings of parliament. Most worrying is these proceedings.
Into way in some team course watching out of some losses what Jim Rewaha. That's a so body in the Adam to me in sanction na yem fadi chinsi in so inside in sumo. Aha, a FunnTV GH.